You were never born into lack. You were born under the law of overflow. Before you had a name, before you had a wound, before you ever learned to want, you were wrapped in divine inheritance. You didn't ask for it. You were it. You were spoken into form by a love that has never lacked, never hesitated, never withheld from itself. And so you came through, whole, radiant, supplied, not to chase wealth, but to remember you are wealth, not to earn overflow, but to breathe it like oxygen, not to beg heaven to give, but to declare, heaven already did. But somewhere, the forgetting began. Maybe it began in your mother's sigh, in your father's silence, in the bills that made the house feel heavy, in the tithes you gave in fear instead of faith, in the theology that taught you suffering made you sacred. Maybe it began the first time you asked for more, and someone's face twisted in disapproval. That was not overflow, that was programming. That was not divine. That was inheritance passed through trauma, not truth. But here you are. And the code is still inside you. You were born under the law of overflow. You were never meant to survive what heaven designed you to command. Say this out loud. I no longer serve scarcity as my God. Because you tried. You served it through guilt. You bowed to it in silence. You carried it in your back, in your stomach, in your jaw. You thought frugality made you faithful. You thought shrinking made you spiritual. You thought waiting made you worthy. But the soul who remembers does not wait. She awakens. And when she awakens, the gates of heaven remember too. You were never required to earn your way back to supply. You are the supply. You are not the vessel. You are the voice that commands the vessel to fill. You do not manifest wealth. You speak it. You embody it. You remember it. And the moment you remember, you do not beg anymore. You do not plead with the universe to notice you. You notice yourself, as God already did. Say this again. I was born wealthy in spirit, and now I remember. Your breath is your permission slip. Every inhale a sacred contract with the invisible. Every exhale a decree of abundance made flesh. There was never a separation. There was never a time when you were disqualified. There was only the illusion of separation, created by pain, maintained by silence, and broken now by your voice. You can feel it, can't you? The tremble, the truth, the cracking of the cage you thought you were born into. But the cage was never real. Only the story was. And you were born to rewrite it. You were not born to be humble in your requests. You were born to be holy in your remembrance. This is not a new truth. It is an ancient one, older than your name, older than your lineage, older than your memory of being small. You are not here to chase wealth. You are here to mirror it, because wealth has always been looking for you, not as a prize to be earned, but as a home to return to. So speak. Speak with no apology in your tone. Speak as the one who never left Eden. Speak as the one who knows lack is a lie. And if your body trembles when you speak it, good. That's the trauma unraveling. That's the poverty code cracking. That's your nervous system remembering that she was never born to panic, that she was never made to worry, that she was never designed for crumbs. She was formed in the image of all, of enough, of more than enough, of the all in all. And you are that image. What if this was the truth all along? What if you were never meant to budget your soul to fit the limits of this world? What if you were never meant to tithe from fear, to pray from depletion, to work from exhaustion? What if you were always meant to remember that you are the overflow, not the one who asks, the one who activates? Say this now. I do not chase money. Money responds to me remembering who I am. The law of overflow is not transactional. It is spiritual. It does not reward effort. It rewards embodiment. It doesn't ask for more work. It asks for more worth. spoken into identity. The moment you say, I was never meant to survive, the law shifts, the energy reorders, the floodgates begin to recognize your voice again, because God heard you, not in the begging, but in the becoming. In the moment you stopped performing and started decreeing, this is the sacred reversal. This is the divine law you were born under. And now you live by it. No more bowing to the old scarcity altar. No more rehearsing the trauma story. No more asking for permission to be wealthy in soul and substance. You are no longer surviving. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer separate. You have remembered. And now, wealth remembers you too. Say this again. I was born wealthy in spirit, and now I remember. And if you feel this truth in your bones, type it now in the comments. Lack was never my origin. Let your voice begin what your spirit has already decided. Heaven already said yes, and now so do you. You were never meant to describe your life. You were meant to declare it. Your words were not made to report lack. They were created to reveal wealth. You are not the narrator of reality. You are its initiator, its activator, its first cause. And yet, for so long, you have spoken from the wound instead of the throne. You have whispered fear like a prayer. You have named yourself according to history instead of according to divinity. But the law of spoken reality says this: whatever follows I am becomes. You said, I am broke. And the universe obeyed. You said, I can't afford that. And the door sealed shut. You said, money never stays. And so it bowed to your prophecy, because money is loyal, not to your effort, to your voice. It does not follow your hustle. It follows your utterance. It doesn't check your bank account. It checks your belief account, and your belief speaks one language, the word. Say this now, not with your lips, but with your being. I now speak from the I am that creates all, because you've always been speaking, even in silence, even in worry, even in doubt. Every anxious calculation was a whispered spell. Every budget made in panic was a prophecy in numbers. Every apology before desiring something more was a declaration of unworthiness. And the universe, being obedient, responded in kind. But now you remember, the word was first. Not your job, not your trauma, not your family patterns. The word was first, and your word is law, not because of ego, because of essence, because you were made in the image of voice. God didn't build the world with hands. God spoke it, and so must you. Say this slowly. My voice creates my wealth. Again, my voice creates my wealth. And again, until the nervous system believes you, because it doesn't yet. It's still wired to obey fear. It's still loyal to old definitions. It still flinches when you say rich. It still holds guilt when you declare overflow. But here's what heaven wants you to know. You are not trying to be wealthy. You are simply remembering that you've always been the Word made flesh. You do not need better strategies. You need deeper sentences. You do not need proof. You need permission to prophesy, and you already have it. Because your voice isn't just sound. It's not just air and tone and breath. It is the bridge, the place where the invisible becomes form, where vibration turns into bank balance, where soul becomes substance. So what will you speak now? No more describing what hurts. Speak what heals. No more echoing what the world says. Speak what heaven already decided. No more repeating your mother's money story. No more ventriloquism of fear. No more partnership with lack. Say this: I do not echo lack. I establish wealth. Let the law hear you. Let your cells reorganize around your decree. Because the moment you say, I am abundant, you are. Not because it's positive, because it's true. Not because it's a trick, because it's your title. You are not speaking into the void. You are speaking into your inheritance. And it's listening. The field is listening. The molecules are listening. The wealth is listening. And it is asking, what name should I wear today? What role should I play? What reality should I shape? And you say, I am the one it belongs to. And it responds, because the word is law. Not the word you say once and forget, but the word you become, the word you eat, the word you carry, the word you mother inside your chest. Because your voice is not random, it is remembered. The tone you use, the rhythm you carry, the names you answer to, they shape the grid of your entire wealth field. So, speak differently now. Speak like someone who knows that heaven agrees. Speak like someone who knows the moment I name it, it is mine. The moment I declare it, it must obey. Because the energy doesn't argue, it receives. And your voice is the tuning fork. You speak rich, and reality tunes itself to match. You speak safe, and your nervous system finds its rhythm. You speak chosen, and every old rejection crumbles in your wake. Say it again. I now speak from the I am that creates all. Let it echo. Let it settle. Let it unhook you from centuries of silence. You were not born to agree with circumstances. You were born to command them. You were not made to speak what is. You were made to speak what will be. And watch as it becomes what is. This is not performance. It is prophecy. This is not delusion. It is design. You are not speaking to convince the universe. You are speaking to consecrate it. Your words are not requests. They are blueprints. They are laws. They are laws. They are laws. And so now you speak with reverence. Every morning, every transaction, every prayer, every breath, not as someone wishing for wealth, but as someone married to it, because the vow was spoken long ago. And now you speak it back. If you feel this truth, if your body knows this remembrance, if your spirit just sat up straighter, then type this now. My voice creates my wealth. Let the algorithm hear what heaven already knew. You do not need evidence. You need language. You do not need approval. You need authority. And the law is listening. So speak. Speak until money bows. Speak until fear breaks. Speak until you remember again. You never needed to wait for a change. You only needed to speak it. And now you have. There is nothing you gave that heaven forgot. There is no blessing you whispered that disappeared into silence. There is no tithe, no gift, no dollar, no act of invisible love that went unnoticed by the fabric of divine law. You were taught that release was risky, that to give meant to lose, that when you let go, it may never return. But Spirit says, return is not delayed. It is designed. It does not happen by luck. It happens by law. Every breath of generosity, every moment you gave while unseen, every act of beauty with no applause was recorded in sacred code. You didn't need a receipt. You didn't need recognition. You only needed to trust the design. What if every dollar you've ever spent in fear had a twin dollar waiting to come home in faith? What if every gift you released when you were empty became the seed of a field now ready to harvest? What if what felt like sacrifice was really supply in disguise? You've forgotten how protected you are. You've forgotten how wealth listens to intention, not to ego, not to proof, not to logic, but to frequency. And your frequency, when you gave, was holy. You didn't always know that. You didn't always feel it. But the law of invisible return did. The law knew you weren't losing. You were circling what you gave back to you. Not in the same form, but in divine reward. Because this is not a world of transaction. It is a world of transformation. And transformation always returns, not when you beg, but when you bless. So bless what you gave, even the parts you gave in pain, even the energy you gave in relationships that didn't stay, even the words you spoke that no one echoed back. Bless them again. Say this out loud. Slow, with your hand on your heart, I trust the invisible return of all I release in love, because love never leaves empty. Love does not drain, it designs. Every dollar you spent in faith became a silent investment in divine architecture. You thought you were letting it go, but you were building your future. One invisible brick at a time, every yes you gave in obedience, every seed you sowed in the dark, was encoded with the voice of overflow, and it heard you. God heard you. So now, you do not need to chase it. You only need to receive it. The return is not somewhere far away. It's not behind some cosmic paywall. It's in the field, right now, waiting for recognition, waiting for identity. And that identity is you. You are not being punished for being generous. You are being prepared to inherit the exact wealth your generosity designed. You are not being delayed. You are being matched. The frequency of your return had to find the frequency of your belief. And now you believe. Now you no longer give in fear. You give in faith. You spend in supply. You release in remembrance, because you know what returns. Returns bigger. Returns better. Returns beyond logic. And when it does, you won't say, I earned this. You'll say, I recognize this. Because it always belonged to you. If this reminds you of what's already on its way, type this into the atmosphere. Heaven remembers everything I gave. Let your nervous system hear what your soul already knew. Let your subconscious unlock the gates of receiving. You are no longer surviving. You are circling. You are recycling what was never lost, only multiplied. Let go of the belief that it has to come from where you gave it. Divine return does not obey human logic. It obeys divine law. So don't look to the same hands. Don't look to the same timelines. Don't wait for them to repay you. They were never the source. They were just the soil. But the rain is coming, and it carries your name. Because you didn't give to be seen. You gave because you remembered who you were. And now that version of you is being honored by heaven. So bless your past giving. Bless the bills you paid in tears. Bless the groceries you bought when you didn't know what would come next. Bless the donations no one knew about. Bless the help you gave while your own heart was breaking. You weren't being drained. You were being designated. You were being marked by heaven as someone who walks by supply, as someone who knows that abundance doesn't begin with having, it begins with trusting. So say it again. I trust the invisible return of all I release in love. Because what you gave in love must return in love. This is not motivational. This is mechanical. This is not hopeful. This is spiritual law. You are not waiting for good luck. You are waiting for divine echo. And now you are still enough to hear it, to feel it, to receive it. This is not the season of forcing. This is the season of full circle. The return is already here. It is knocking in ways you never expected. It is riding in on strangers, on discounts, on delays that turn into blessings, on denied paths that were divine protection. So don't judge the form, just recognize the return. Because it must come back, not because you're perfect, but because the law is. And the law heard what you gave. It saw the sacrifice. It felt the faith. It remembered your yes. And now it is gathering harvest. Not small, not partial, not someday, but now. In the unseen, there is a wind forming with your name in its song. There is a multiplication being whispered in numbers you haven't dreamed yet. There is wealth carrying the scent of the seeds you forgot you planted. You did not lose anything. You gave it to God, and God does not forget. So wait, but don't wait with fear. Wait with authority. Wait like a queen who already knows the court has been called. Wait like a vessel, not of emptiness, but of expansion. Because it's not just coming. It's been on its way since the moment you released it. This is the law, not of karma, but of kindness. not of punishment, but of promise. And you are the fulfillment. Say it one more time, and this time let it vibrate through every old belief. I trust the invisible return of all I release in love, and it is so. There is something your body has been holding that your spirit has been trying to release. There is a tightening, a gripping, a clenching in the back of your shoulders, in the base of your spine, in the center of your chest, and that tightening has been speaking louder than your prayers. Your mouth has been saying, I receive, but your body has been whispering, I don't feel safe. And the universe listens to the whisper. This is the law. Your body cannot receive what it fears, no matter how beautifully you affirm it, no matter how faithfully you visualize it. If your nervous system still sees money as danger, as instability, as exposure, as burden, it will gently push it away, not as punishment, but as protection. You are not blocked. You are buffered. Wealth is not resisting you. It's waiting for you to feel safe enough to hold it, because divine wealth does not flow where there is contraction. It flows where there is softness. You must become a sanctuary. You must prepare the temple, your body, to receive what your soul has already agreed to, because wealth does not land in fight or flight. It lands in rest, in breath, in the quiet between thoughts, in the sigh after surrender. Let your shoulders drop, right now. Let the space between your eyes melt. Let your jaw unclench. Let your belly rise without shame. You do not need to brace anymore. You do not need to perform to be safe. This is not the season of proving. This is the season of receiving, and receiving begins with safety. So breathe again, softly. Say this out loud, as a decree, not a hope. My body is now a sanctuary for divine wealth. Let it echo in the bones that once flinched at every bill. Let it anoint the skin that remembers the heat of scarcity. Let it rewire the spine that once curled in shame. You are allowed to feel safe now. Your nervous system is not the enemy. It is your gatekeeper. It is your translator. It is your sacred threshold. And it needs to believe what your soul already knows. You were not born to hustle your way into heaven. You were born to become the place heaven flows into. The body you carry is not a burden. It is a sacred vault, a receiver of divine current, but only when it feels safe. What if your wealth was not avoiding you, but waiting for you to relax enough to recognize it? What if overflow didn't arrive through force, but through the breath you keep forgetting to take? You do not have to guard so hard. You are already guarded by God. So release the armor, the tension, the need to prove, to perform, to pretend. Softness is your new frequency. Stillness is your new strategy. Safety is your new spell. If you felt your shoulders drop while listening, type this into the sacred current. I receive wealth in softness. This is your nervous system rewiring in real time. This is trauma losing its grip. This is survival dissolving into spirit. You don't need to fix everything before you receive. You only need to trust your own body again. Let it feel wealth as ease. Let it feel supply as silence. Let it feel money as warmth, not warning. Because when your body believes you are safe, the gates open. Ideas arrive. Opportunities appear. Money flows. Miracles organize themselves. Not because you did more, but because you softened, you allowed, you unguarded. You became receptive, not reactive. And that's where God meets you. Not in your tension, in your trust. Not in your planning, in your presence. So every time you spend, breathe first. Every time you receive, soften your belly. Every time you feel triggered by bills or money talk or old patterns, put your hand on your chest and say this: I am safe now. I am supplied now. Train your nervous system to feel what your spirit already knows. Money is not the enemy. Lack is not your story. You no longer need adrenaline to feel alive. You can live in gentleness. You can trust stillness. You can expand in peace. Let wealth feel you exhale. Let it recognize your readiness. This is not about being perfect. It's about being present. Because wealth doesn't flow to the smartest. It flows to the softest, to the safest, to the most available. And safety is softness. Say this again, slower this time, like it's recoding your spine. My body is now a sanctuary for divine wealth. This is your new command. This is your new agreement. This is your new nervous system law. And it changes everything. Because the moment you stop bracing, blessings begin pouring. The moment you stop clutching, currency starts dancing. And the moment you stop doubting, divine support rushes in. You are never forgotten. You are only frightened. And fear is not your fault. But it is no longer your ruler. Now, safety reigns. Now, softness governs. Now, your body becomes the holy of holies. No more panic in the presence of potential. No more shutdown when you touch expansion. You are free to feel good and be provided for. You are free to relax and rise. You are free to stop hustling for a thing heaven already decided was yours. Wealth does not need your panic. It needs your peace. And peace begins in the body. Breathe again. No rush. Let the words do the work. Let your nervous system catch up to your identity. You are no longer surviving. You are circulating. You are no longer preparing. You are ready. You are no longer doubting. You are declaring. And the declaration is simple, holy, complete. My body is now a sanctuary for divine wealth. And so it is. There comes a moment where your soul stops asking for what was already promised and simply begins to expect it, not with arrogance, but with authority. This is that moment. You have spent enough time explaining your prayers to a universe that already answered them. You have wasted enough breath convincing yourself to accept crumbs when you were born with the whole vineyard etched into your name. This is the law. Divine truth does not bargain. It is not up for debate. It does not check your credit. It does not look at your history. It does not ask you how long you've suffered. It knows who you are. It already said yes. And you, beloved, you keep saying maybe. You keep shrinking your voice to make room for someone else's comfort. You keep dimming your decree so you don't seem too demanding. You keep negotiating with lack as if it has anything left to offer you. But lack is not a gift. It is a ghost. It is a rehearsed memory that has mistaken itself for identity. You don't owe it anything. You don't have to keep proving you're grateful by staying small. You don't have to keep settling for just enough, because too much once scared someone else. You are not here to survive the day. You are here to command the timeline. And that command begins with your non-negotiation. Say this out loud. I no longer beg for what's already mine. Feel that shift in your spine. That's your I am remembering its law. Because everything you declare without contradiction must become form. It is not maybe. It is not someday. It is not if I'm good enough. It is law. Heaven already decided, and your only role now is to match the decision. You don't need to adjust your desires to fit someone else's disbelief. You don't need to water down your wealth to avoid looking greedy. There is nothing greedy about divine overflow. It's not indulgent. It's ordained. What you hold in your heart was encoded there for a reason. It is not delusion. It is direction. So stop bargaining with doubt. Stop discussing your destiny at the negotiation table of fear. Your new standard is overflow. Your new standard is yes without apology. Your new standard is wealth without resistance. And yes, your ego may panic. Your nervous system may stutter. Your past may rise up and try to whisper, but who are you to want that much? But do not answer that voice. It is not your voice. It is borrowed. You've inherited patterns that were never your permission slips. Now, you're writing your own. And on this one, it says, I do not negotiate with lack. If this truth woke up your certainty, type it now, like a decree through your fingers. I do not negotiate with lack. Let that sentence become your protection. Let it become your sword. Let it slice through every situation where you used to explain yourself into scarcity. Because from this moment forward, you do not explain. You embody. You do not shrink. You speak. You do not wait. You walk. Walk like the yes already happened. Speak like heaven is on record. Move like the supply is already prepared. Because it is. The contracts are signed in spirit. Now your job is to stop editing your expectations to match your old experiences. Your old experiences were based on an identity you no longer carry. You are not her anymore. The version of you who begged, the one who compromised, the one who said, anything is better than nothing. She is gone. Bless her, thank her, and let her rest. You are not available for almost anymore. You are not available for half-hearted responses from life. You are not available for love that costs your voice, or jobs that cost your sleep, or dreams that cost your peace. You no longer trade your divinity for discounts. You no longer offer your power at clearance. You are not a bargain. You are not good enough. You are God-made. You are not trying to earn your blessing. You are the blessing, and you're not afraid to say that anymore. This is your standard now. Say it again, slowly, not just to affirm, but to anchor. I no longer beg for what's already mine. Let that become your nervous system's new frequency. Let it cleanse the parts of you that still feel guilty for being chosen. Let it dissolve the shame that once made you perform for breadcrumbs. You don't have to explain your overflow. You don't need a reason to rise. The reason is you. The reason is the breath still in your lungs, the spirit still echoing in your belly, the God force still pulsing in your name. You are not asking anymore. You are not pleading anymore. You are not waiting anymore. You are receiving without resistance, because resistance is what happens when identity doesn't match desire. But now, your identity has caught up. You are aligned. You are available. You are aware. And in awareness, you no longer settle. You declare, this is your truth. Overflow or nothing. Yes or silence. Divine wealth or divine pause. But never again will you negotiate with lack. You're done reasoning with your chains. You're done praying to your past. You're done justifying your joy to people still addicted to struggle. You are not here to belong in small rooms. You are here to command space with sacred breath. You are not here to stay humble. You are here to stay holy. And holiness does not shrink. It radiates. So radiate now, not from effort, but from alignment, not from proving, but from presence. Let the world feel your non-negotiation. Let money feel your certainty. Let every gatekeeper sense your number. No more convincing. No more contingency. No more explaining your abundance to people who benefit from your lack. You're walking out of every room that asks you to trade your worth for approval. You're rising from every prayer that made God seem like a judge, not a source. You're speaking from the I am that never had to audition. Say it with breath. Say it with softness. Say it like you already know it's done. I no longer beg for what's already mine. And that is law. And so it is. There was a time you felt guilt when your hand reached out to give, as if generosity would take something from you, as if spending meant loss, not alignment, as if heaven counted what you gave away and forgot what it promised to return. But listen, that was not your truth. That was your programming. You were taught to fear the flow because you never saw the return arrive fast enough to calm your nervous system. You were taught that generosity was weakness, that selflessness meant scarcity, that spending made you foolish instead of faithful. But Spirit remembers what the world forgot. You are not losing. You are not wasting. You are planting. Every dollar you release in peace is not an exit. It is an entrance, an opening in the spiritual realm, a signal to the divine that says, I remember where it came from, and I trust it to come again. There is no such thing as random giving, no such thing as wasted money when the hands that give are rooted in faith. You are not sending money into silence. You are speaking in a language only heaven understands, the language of trust. And trust always returns, pressed down, shaken together, overflowing, not because you earned it, but because you remembered it. Say this out loud. Every dollar I spend is a seed of sacred return. Pause. Let that land. Because your old story told you that every time you gave, you got smaller. It told you that you had to hold tightly, as if the universe was not generous, as if God was not watching, as if your supply depended on fear. But your truth is that your generosity is the proof of your knowing. You give because you no longer identify with lack. You spend because you no longer serve the idol of fear. You circulate because you finally understand that money was never your master. It was your mirror. It mirrored your safety. It mirrored your memory. It mirrored the way you spoke about Source when no one was listening. And now you spend like a woman who knows supply is spiritual, return is automatic, faith is the currency of wealth. What if every dollar was not leaving you, but looking for you, circling back with your name sealed into its code? What if every act of giving was a declaration that you trust divine wealth more than you trust your bank account? What if every dollar you gave said to heaven, I'm done worshiping worry. I'm done negotiating with fear. I'm done acting like this gift won't return. I am rooted in the law now, the law of sacred spending. And sacred never means less. It always means more. Pause again. Close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart. And say softly, spending is my declaration of trust. Every time you pay a bill in peace, you shift your reality. Every time you bless a checkout screen, you shift timelines. Every time you say thank you to what leaves, you magnetize what must return. Because giving is not absence. It is prophecy. It is remembrance. It is the announcement that you no longer fear the flow of supply. What you once called loss is now called alignment. What you once called guilt is now called generosity. What you once avoided is now your spiritual practice. This is not just money. This is memory. This is your soul rewriting what was once stained by shame. You no longer say, I shouldn't have spent that. You now whisper, that was a sacred seed. Heaven heard it, and return is in motion. There is no debt in the divine economy, only circulation, only overflow, only remembrance. You are not too generous. You are too holy to be stingy. You are not reckless. You are finally safe. Safe enough to spend without apologizing. Safe enough to receive without guilt. Safe enough to let the old story of tightness, lack, and spiritual unworthiness collapse in your bloodstream. Your DNA is not coded for fear. It is coded for abundance. Let your hands be open again. Let your heart trust again. Let your spending become sacred again. And when it tries to rise, the fear, the doubt, the whisper of, you don't know what's coming, you meet it with truth. You say back to it, but I do know. I know what's already been promised. I know who I am. I know what heaven already decided. And heaven decided this. You will not wither in generosity. You will bloom. Say this again, slower this time. Every dollar I spend is a seed of sacred return. Let that affirmation walk with you. Let it speak when your old fear wants to grip the purse tighter. Let it remind you when you bless someone else's table. Let it become your I am decree every time you feel a flutter of lack trying to pretend it has power over your truth. Because now you remember, lack is a lie, and spending is not emptying. It is declaring. It is creating. It is speaking wealth into the open air and trusting that wealth knows its way back to you. This is not casual. This is holy. The moment you said yes to supply, you said yes to release. The moment you let go of guilt, you became a portal. And through that portal, every dollar carries your vibration, your identity, your sacred yes. So give like you've already received. Spend like you've already inherited. Sow like you've already reaped. And if this changed how you see money, if it breathed safety back into your body, then type it out loud as your testimony. Spending is my declaration of trust. And let the angels record it. Let your nervous system soften. Let your future rearrange. You are no longer surviving. You are remembering. And every act of sacred spending is heaven hearing you again. Again and again and again and again. You have not missed it. You are not behind. You are not waiting on God. You are being aligned by heaven. Delay was never punishment. It was protection. It was preparation. It was the hush before the hallelujah. You once called it stuck, but Spirit called it stillness. You once named it delay, but heaven was dressing you in readiness. Breathe, beloved. You do not manifest by force. You manifest by faith, by the slow remembering of what already belonged to you. There is a difference between impatience and prophecy. One rushes to prove, the other rests in knowing. This is the moment you rest. This is the moment you trust the divine delay. This is the moment you drop the clock from your grip and pick up the promise instead. Say this out loud. I align with divine timing, not human worry. There are no late miracles. There is only the illusion of time. And time was never your master. God is. You once begged the calendar for a sign. Now you speak directly to eternity. You once looked at the clock and thought, where is it? But now you ask yourself, who am I while I wait? Because that's where the wealth is. Not in what arrives, but in who you become before it appears. And you, my love, you are becoming a woman who trusts divine wealth more than deadlines, more than urgency, more than fear. The version of you that was addicted to panic is being laid to rest. The self who checked the results before, trusting the decree, is dissolving now. You are no longer surviving time. You are creating within it. You are partnering with it. You are declaring, I do not rush what God has already prepared. Because when you trust divine timing, you realize delay isn't distance, it's design. Say this, I was never forgotten. I was always being delivered. And this is the moment you soften your waiting. This is the moment the pressure leaves your chest. This is the moment you stop trying to control the how, the when, the what. This is the moment you become a match for what was already yours. Can you feel it? Your nervous system just sighed. Your soul just leaned back. Your spirit just whispered, she's ready. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting time and started flowing with it. Let this land deeply. Heaven does not respond to pressure. It responds to presence, to peace, to prophecy spoken without panic. You are not too late. You are right on divine schedule. The wealth you feared you missed is still waiting for the real you to show up, not the rushed you, not the hustling you, not the please let it be me you, but the anchored you, the softened you. The one who remembers that supply is spiritual and timing is sacred. Say it slowly, I trust the invisible choreography of heaven. You do not need to knock on closed doors. You need to stand at the one God already opened and say, I am here. I remember. I receive. You were never supposed to chase. You were designed to attract, to command, to wait in wholeness, not in worry. And I know waiting has hurt. But this time, you're not waiting from lack. You are waiting from alignment. This isn't punishment, this is preparation. This is sacred delay for sovereign delivery. Breathe that in. There's no punishment in divine pauses, only positioning. The delay taught you to release old identities. The waiting stripped the panic from your prayers. It softened your asking. It turned begging into declaring. It turned fear into knowing. And now, when it arrives, you will not question if it's real. You will not wonder if you're worthy. You will simply say, "This is what heaven always had in mind." Say it again with your whole body. I align with divine timing, not human worry. This is the schedule of the sacred, where the answer doesn't come fast, it comes full, whole, overflowing. If this softened your waiting, type in the comments, "Heaven is never late with my supply." You are not behind. You are being carried. You are not missing anything. You are being matched with everything. You are not forgotten. You are being crowned in the unseen. It's all aligning, not because you begged, but because you believed. You're no longer surviving time. You're commanding it with your presence. The waiting room has become your temple, and the clock no longer owns you. You walk in divine remembrance. You sit in divine order. You rise in divine wealth. Say it one last time, so your body believes it, so your mind surrenders, so your future feels safe to appear. I align with divine timing, not human worry, and it is so. You are not here to wish. You are not here to wait. You are here to become. This is not about receiving money. This is about remembering who wealth flows through. You were never meant to chase riches. You were always meant to embody royalty, not as performance, but as posture, as presence, as prophecy. The version of you who lacks is not the one who commands, and the version of you who hopes is not the one who knows. So now we breathe her in, the woman who already receives. She doesn't ask with fear. She declares with fire. She doesn't wait for proof. She is the proof. She doesn't beg. She speaks. And the world rearranges. Close your eyes and remember her, not from fantasy, from memory. Because she already lives inside you, not someday. Now she speaks in your silence. She calls through your tears. She rises when you remember, supply is not earned. It is embodied. You were taught to earn love, to work for worth, to hustle for enough. But that was the voice of lack. That was the echo of survival. That was the training of the world, not the truth of heaven. And you're done with it now, because the woman who receives is the woman who decided. Say this softly. I now embody the identity of divine wealth. Let those words live in your breath. Let them drape over your shoulders like a crown. Let them rearrange your cells until your body no longer flinches when abundance calls your name. You don't manifest by force. You manifest by frequency, and your frequency is identity. You are what you walk in, and now you walk in divine supply. You move like overflow is normal. You speak like the yes already arrived. You give like nothing can run out. You receive like it was always meant for you, and it was. You were never forgotten. You were simply being remembered by your own soul. This is not the law of doing. This is the law of being. Because the version of you who tries to believe will always wait for signs. But the version of you who knows becomes the sign. She wears certainty in her voice. She wears truth in her silence. She wears divinity like skin. You don't need to become her. You only need to remove what you are not. The fear that said, you're too much. The guilt that whispered, you're not enough. The shame that made you bow before the world instead of rising in your inheritance. Let it go, all of it. This is not the identity you carry into overflow. This is not the version of you that heaven recognizes. Heaven doesn't respond to performance. It responds to presence. And now you are present. Now you are her. Say it again, slowly. I now embody the identity of divine wealth, not because of what you own, but because of who you are. You do not need to prove it. You only need to speak it. Because in the kingdom of spirit, it is not your bank account that holds your worth. It is your word, and your word is your wand. You have spoken lack for long enough. You have walked in borrowed names. You have worn the identities they gave you. Too emotional, too much, too late, too ambitious, too poor, too soon, too soft. But now you wear truth. You walk in the name heaven gave you, chosen, abundant, free. You no longer perform to be enough. You rest as the one who already is. Say this again in your body. I am the woman who already receives. Let every cell echo it. Let your nervous system learn safety in it. Let your posture soften under the weight of truth. This is not about convincing the universe. This is about remembering your assignment. You were sent to this earth not to struggle, but to shift. Not to beg, but to become. Not to hustle, but to hold. Hold the identity of divine wealth until it wraps itself around your life like light. Until your prayers stop sounding like requests and start sounding like reminders. Until your presence speaks louder than your fear. Until the room shifts just because you walked in. Until your silence becomes magnetic and your essence becomes a command. This is your final law. Not the law of doing, not the law of asking, not the law of working, the law of embodiment. You become the woman who never lacked, who never begged, who never doubted. Not because it's always easy, but because it's always sacred. And now that you remember who you are, you can never go back to who you were. Let the old names burn. Let the old shame melt. Let the survival self rest. Let the begging end. There is no need to negotiate with life when you are the decree. Let this voice be the final echo. I now embody the identity of divine wealth. I now embody the identity of divine wealth. I now embody the identity of divine wealth. And if you're ready to walk as her, type in the comments, I am the woman who already receives. And so it is.